past few years, advanced placement classes have become a lot more popular. Students are being pressured to take AP classes, and it is causing a lot of stress, especially for students that are involved in after-school activities like the swimming practice shown here. We were able to conduct extensive research to find the answers to the question, are AP classes worth the stress? We were able to speak with the school social worker, Miss Reed, about the stress involved with AP classes, and here's what she had to say. What, if any, are the mental repercussions for taking a lot of AP classes along with a lot of after-school activities?
I think there's a lot of stress. I think a lot of students are pretty stressed out. I think it can cause some anxiety. We've had some students who, in the past, have taken a lot of AP classes, have wanted to maybe get out of one or two of them. That can be a little difficult and tricky with scheduling. We've had some students who have ended up in the hospital because of being kind of stressed out and anxious. So I think that if students are overloaded, it can be difficult to kind of manage everything.
All right. Is there anything that can be done to maybe help relieve the stress from taking AP classes and being involved in after-school activities?
I think maybe learning some time management skills, test taking strategies I think would be good, and just overall kind of wellness, like what's your limit or what's the student's limit to say, okay, I can't take all of these, I'm going to work on my strengths, and I'll be in math AP classes versus maybe English if English isn't my strength, or vice versa.
And do you think AP classes are worth the stress that is often associated with them?
I think it depends on what the motivation is to take the classes. I know that some students have said, well, if all my friends are taking AP classes, I should be taking them as well, and maybe they're not able to kind of take on that workload. But I do think if a student is ready, if they're capable of doing the work and looking at colleges and wanting to put their best foot forward, I think that it can be, as long as everything kind of balances out.
We then got the opportunity to speak with one of the school's counselors, Miss Korn, about advanced placement classes. Students often take AP classes to get into good colleges and universities. Do you think AP classes really help you go to college?
I think they help to prepare you for college with the workload and whatnot. But I think you don't need them to go to college. I think that if you're a student who is capable of doing the AP class, it will absolutely help you. But if you're not, I don't think that, it's necessary.
And stress is often associated with AP classes. Do you think the stress is worth it?
I think, again, it depends on the student. It depends on how much stress that student can handle. And if they can handle it, yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it prepares them well for college. But if there's a student who doesn't do well with stress and, can't handle everything that's going on inside, out of school, I think it's probably not worth it for them to have the added stress of an AP class.
All right. Students involved in after-school activities often complain about the abundance of homework. Do you think students should take AP classes if they are involved in after-school activities?
Yes, because I think we build a lot of good time into the day. I think if a student's going to be in an activity or a sport after school, they should have a study hall, and those are kind of the things that we try and talk about with kids when we're doing course registration. But I think that, again, as long as the student can handle it, yes, absolutely pair a sport with an AP, because that even looks better.
We were then able to speak with the principal and head of the AP committee. She had some very interesting remarks regarding advanced placement classes. There are a lot of students taking 2 or 3 AP classes. Is that too many? How many should a student take?
Well, actually, College Board that governs AP recommends that a student not take any more than 3 AP classes at a time. So that's kind of a guideline. And then I think it depends on the individual student. I think it depends a lot on what other courses you're taking, because if you take some classes that don't have a lot of outside homework, maybe you can take that 4th AP class. I also think it depends on what else is going on in the student's life. Are you out for sports? Are you in extracurriculars? Do you have to have a part-time job? So I think you have to strike that balance, and that depends on all of those other factors.
Students often complain about the abundance of homework in AP classes. Do you think there should be some type of regulation that limits the amount of homework an AP teacher can give?
I think the problem that comes with AP classes is that the curriculum, for a large extent, is governed by the College Board. And so every AP teacher has to submit his or her curriculum to the College Board for approval. And so there's so much that has to be covered. I think that's where it becomes the challenge, that it's not just what this individual teacher wants to do, but it's what College Board expects as well. I don't know whether limitations could be put on it, but I think communication would be great. You know, if the AP teachers could communicate, and some do, I know that some do, but if they could sort of communicate, you know, what's going on with major deadlines and maybe establish a calendar that sort of helped that where everything's not due at once, I think that might help a little bit. Or maybe looking at making sure that the homework serves its purpose, that you're not just giving busy work, that it's meaningful homework.
Would you recommend students that are in a lot of after-school activities to take AP classes?
I think what's happened anymore is that over the years, it used to be that there were very few AP courses offered in the nation, and then College Board started offering more AP classes. And what colleges started to do then, it used to be that AP was just solely for getting college credit. That was it. Now, college admissions people have started using AP as sort of the gold standard for admissions. So I think we would be remiss if we didn't recommend students to take AP courses if they want to go to a four-year college, because it's used now as part of that admissions criteria. So I think we have to really look at, not necessarily we want students to be involved, but what are your goals after high school? And if your goal is to get into a four-year college, then you're probably going to need to be looking at taking rigorous courses. But also, being involved is really important as well. So again, it kind of comes back to that individual.
People say the administration pushes students to take AP classes. Why is that?
Well, I think it goes into what we've just said. I would not want to push a student who's not academically capable. But I also think that conversation about what are your post-high school goals is really important. And if you want to go to a competitive university, then I have an obligation to make sure that you are informed and as prepared as possible. So the pushing really comes from, if you tell me this is your goal, then I need to make sure that you have all the tools to be able to reach that goal. And that might be taking and succeeding in AP classes.
And should kids that do after-school activities and sports have longer due dates than kids who don't? If not, what do you think should be done, if anything?
I don't necessarily think that extended due dates should be because of sports, but I do think and know that AP teachers normally work within the student. Something could happen, whether it's sports, whether it's a family crisis at home, whether there's something going on in that child's life. And I think it's not so much about the deadline, that it's about making sure that you're doing quality work. At some point, a teacher has to have you turn it in order to grade it. But I do think and hope that there's flexibility, if there are things going on in your life, that you do get those extensions, that we're really grading students on what they are learning and not just simply meeting a deadline. Now, that being said, there has to be a deadline at some point, but hopefully there's some flexibility built into that.
Overall, AP classes have many advantages, such as preparing students for college and helping them save money for college tuition. But most students who participate in after-school activities don't have the time for the intense workload that accompanies AP classes. The lack of time and the immense amount of homework just makes it too stressful. Students involved in after-school activities would be better off to stick with honors or regular level classes. The workload is a lot more manageable, and the classes are a lot less stressful. In conclusion, students that participate in after-school activities are better off staying away from advanced placement classes and veer more towards honors and regular level classes.
On my way, on my way, on my way down. On my way, on my way, on my way down. You were the one that was trying to keep me way down. And like the sun, no, you know I'm on my way down. They
tell me I should fix my grill cause I got money now. I ain't gonna sit around in front like I ain't thought about it. A perfect smile is more appealing, but it's funny how this crooked look at how far